All right, so this is what I'm going to have you do this week. I'll show you the project, and then I'll talk you through it. So in this case, you're going to make these symbols. But this time, you're going to draw them using, the drawing aids, right? So not by, crazy math and writing. It's this will be like we're going to begin building your AutoCAD template for, and if you do this right, you can use this for years and years and years and years. So the first thing you need to do is build at least these symbols. Okay, you're going to draw them yourself. I'm going to show you some examples of how that gets done. You're going to organize it into layers for the different line types, which I'll explain to you. So these would be what you would want to see at the minimum, is these symbols. And if there's any others that you wanted to add now, that you could. It's just things you can imagine yourself drawing over and over again. If it's something you think you're going to do a lot of, then you can add that too. But at the bare minimum, I want to see at least these symbols, okay? And then you are going to use these symbols and your newfangled template to make a new drawing based off your template. So you're going to make the template with these symbols, and you're going to save it as a template, then you're going to open it up as a new AutoCAD document based off that template, and then you are going to use it to create this drawing, which is similar to the one we just did, but smaller. Okay? But in many ways, it's very similar. But same thing, you're going to, instead of using my template from the USIT drawings, you're going to use your own. But you're also going to actually label stuff now. So if I pull this in and show you what it looks like. Okay, so you're actually going to put labels and numbers on all of this. Okay. All right, so you got to pay attention to what the text says, and you got to do all those things. Okay. I'm pretty sure there are some mistakes in this drawing. Just little numbering things or something, So if you catch them and want to try to fix them, that's cool. But
how am I going to know that it's a mistake?
if you don't know that it's fine.
Because I'm not going to know.
I'm not going to. The point here is to make this drawing. So even if you make this drawing including the mistakes, that's fine. I'm not going to. I'll count that as my mistake, not your mistake. But if you find them and want to fix them, that's fine too. Whatever, I don't remember exactly where they are, but they are minor, but I found them before. Okay, so that's the one you're going to make. So let's take a look at how this works in AutoCAD. So let's go back to AutoCAD, and you're going to create a new file based on the ACAD DWT. Okay? Go ahead and open this up. And make sure that all of your drawing aids are turned on. So make sure you've got the polar tracking turned on, the dynamic input turned on, the object snap tracking and object snap. Make sure those are all turned on because you're going to need those. So
one of mine accidentally turned off while I was working.
Yeah.
It really fucked me up.
I think I'm pretty sure there are keyboard commands to do that. Yeah. So if you hover over them, you'll see the keyboard command in parentheses. So you might have just
Oh yeah, probably just did the keyboard.
Yeah. Do you all see a layers list over here on the right in your file?
Yes.
What?
Is
a
ever-
little different though.
Wait, I don't know.
It's a box, but it's much smaller.
Yeah, you can drag it like this to, depending on how big you want it to be. Okay. So layers are a really powerful tool in AutoCAD that lets you kind of, you could have one drawing with lots of different lines on it, but the lines can be on different layers in order to assign significance to them. And the reason that's helpful is you can style layers. So you can apply properties to a layer that will then ripple into every object that is on that layer, which can save you a lot of time. When you want to make a change to something, you can just tweak the layer, and everything on that layer will get changed in that way. Yes?
Can you select everything on a layer and like move it around, like in like drawing things, like in drawing programs?
You can.
Okay, cool. Previous knowledge coming in handy.
So there's another thing that where layers come in handy is helping to manage your line types and line weights, because like AJ, when you took hand drafting, they probably talked a lot about line weights, right?
Oh my God, it was like the whole class.
Yeah.
That was what I hated the most.
Yeah.
Was having to like sharpen your pencil every 4 seconds to get that thin dark line.
Right. So, you know, the thickness of the line means something, right? In a draft, like you can use line thickness to communicate information or make the drawing easier to read. So managing how thick certain lines are sometimes makes the drawing clearer and easier to read and looks better. And one of the best ways to manage that is by utilizing the layers, because you can like just change the line weight for a layer, and everything that's on that layer will now have that line weight, right? Which is super useful. So you kind of need to envision what these layers would be. And if we go back and look at the thing that you're going to make, this is your template, okay? All of these lines that like connect boxes together, that represent like cables and stuff, that should be a layer. You know, that's all of your connection lines on a separate layer. You would have your big text label objects on a certain layer. So a big text layer and a little text layer, okay? Maybe even the big outlines of pieces of equipment would be, you know, a separate layer. Equipment boxes, equipment outlines, or something like that. And then the lines inside would be a separate layer. Equipment inside layers, okay? You can get as granular as you want with this, okay? But I want you to give that some thought of like, how do I want to organize the kinds of lines that are in this thing? And if you remember, somebody asked me last week if the colors matter. The reason that thing last week had those colors in it is because each thing that was a different color represented a different layer. Okay?
Cool. So there's visual representation.
Yeah, so that visual representation helps you to keep track of stuff, because you know what all those are based on the color that they are. And so as long as you draw all the things on the right layers, and if you make a mistake, you can move them to a different layer. That's easy to do. But then it makes it a lot easier to then manage stuff. When I say, oh, make a change to this, and it's a change that would apply to everything on, you know, everything that is of a similar type of line or something, if those are all collected on one layer, it's much easier to make a big change like that. So the first thing we want to do is let's make some layers. So you always have in AutoCAD a layer 0. And 0 is the default, right? That's every AutoCAD document has a layer 0. Here's the important thing. You should never use it, ever, for anything. Don't draw on layer 0. The reason for that is that because layer 0 is ubiquitous and is the default, and every single AutoCAD file has one, if you are drawing on layer 0, and then you try to import your file into someone else's AutoCAD drawing, or vice versa, all the styling that they've applied to layer 0 gets applied to your layer 0 when you put it in their drawing, right? And that can screw a lot of things up. Everything that looked right and looked really nice and used a certain thing or whatever, things can get very confusing very quickly. And so, because if AutoCAD, if you're importing one AutoCAD file into another AutoCAD file, which happens all the time, by the way, and you have layers that are named the same thing, AutoCAD has to figure out what to do about that. And it's going to try to put them all together. So best practice is to create your own layers for your stuff, because you will probably share these documents with other people who will have their own templates and their own drawings and stuff like that. And so you want to have layers that are named uniquely to you. And you can decide what kind of descriptions you want to use, but make your own layers that have names that are unlikely to be used by anybody else, so that when you start mixing and matching and swapping files, you don't get confused. So let's make a few. So if you click here down in the bottom left corner of that layers list, you can make, I'll just make 5 layers here, okay? Now my first layer, I'll go up here, it should say just layer 1. We're going to go in and change the name of that one. So this will be like the layer I use for all my connection lines. So I'm going to say audio connect JR for Jason Romney. Okay.
At least your initials aren't a Nazi symbol.
Mm.
Well, at least you saw that.
AJ just got it.
My initials on shit, like.
That's funny.
Wait, how do I remove my
Okay.
Jason,
Yes.
how do we make the layers list like longer so it takes up more space than properties?
Oh, there's a little line in between here that you can move up properties up and down. Okay.
I see. And then how do you accidentally put 6 layers instead of 5? How do I remove
You can just right click on one and hit delete. Okay, so I'm going to make one that's called Audio Connect, and I'll make another one that is, I don't know, like big text. So audio big text JR. And I'll make that yellow.
Oh, you put your initials up?
I'm showing my initials at the end. Just again, that's one identifier that will make it less likely for somebody else to have the same layer. Okay. Next layer will be audio small text JR. And I'll make that cyan. And then maybe layer 4, I will call audio equipment box JR. That'll be for all the boxes that go around things. And I'll make that green. And then, I don't know, let's see, I need something for like the interior lines, right? So this will be audio equipment inside JR. And I'll make that, what should it be? Should I do red?
Is this based on just how it looks? Like you were trying to figure out, like, is it gonna be with like magenta?
No, I'm just like trying to think, well, I like how that looks. It doesn't matter, I can change it later. Okay?
So it automatically sorts, okay. Does it matter which layers are on top of what?
No, I mean, you can sort them any way you want. I think the default is it's sorting them alphabetically, but you can sort them however you want. You can flip that. You can sort them by line type, whatever. All right, so so let's start drawing some stuff. Yeah.
How do you make the thing taller? Because it's really.
So there's a little line here right above where it says properties, and you
Okay.
can adjust.
Maybe something like that.
All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I want to switch to the equipment box layer. So the green one. So the one at the top here is the one that you're currently active on. All right. And so what I want to do is I'm going to do a rectangle. So I want to do this first symbol. Okay. So this will be a rectangle. I'll start at 0, 0, and I will end up at 25, 10. All right. And now let me switch to my inside, audio equipment inside, and I want to do that line for the title bar. So I'll do this, let's do L enter, and then I'll auto snap track down from that corner 2 units, and then take it all the way across. Did you see how I did that? Would you like me to show you again?
Yes, please.
So I'm on the inside layer, okay, and I'm going to do line enter, L enter, and then I'm going to snap to the corner there, and then I'm going to track down from that. While I'm tracking down, I just hit 2 enter, and it will start the line 2 units down from where I snap tracked from. Okay,
Oh, no, just move it.
and then you just take it over until it hits the intersection on the other side of the box, and then enter, and you're done.
I accidentally made melon red. Did that happen?
Yeah, yeah.
Like right here.
Like the vertical line.
Like you didn't switch layers?
No, I did switch layers. It's not the whole box, just this line is the only red one.
Oh, you can just delete that.
But how did it happen?
Delete or?
enter.
Oh, it just created another line.
Yeah, what you probably did is you didn't actually snap track. You just drew a line. You went click, then down to click, and then over. And
Oh, you know what? That might be right.
yeah, so when you snap track, you don't click on the corner. You just hover and snap over the corner, and then track down, and then you click. You hit 2 enter. There's no click involved with the mouse.
But you did line first, and then you snap tracked the corner, went down.
Yep.
To, okay, I see.
So let me show you again. Everybody watch again. I'm going to go L, enter. I'm not going to click my mouse. Okay, I'm just going to hover over that corner until it snaps, and then I'm going to start pulling the mouse down the direction where I want the line to start. I hit 2, enter, and then take it all the way across until I get that to that apparent intersection, and done. Okay? All right. So now I need these lines that come out the side, right? So I'm going to switch to my Audio Connect layer and do a L enter again. And this time I'm going to go up from the bottom and track up, well, let's say 4. And then I'll point out this direction and do 2 enter. Now, does that look right? Yeah, well, I can make it longer later if I want to. So I'm going to take that now, that same line, and I'm going to select it and do copy. And this time I'll click there as the base point, and then I'll go up 2 more units, like that.
You just hit 2 enter.
Yep. Everybody good so far? And now I'm just going to mirror that to the other side. So I'll select those, do MI, enter, and then mirror line will be the midpoints. Enter, done. Okay? So now what we got to do is add the text to this thing. So let's start talking about text. So anybody want to guess what the command is? T.
Oh wait, Jason, how did it work for me? You selected it, and then you said MI, and then you said the midpoint was.
Yep, so watch. I'm going to select the 2 things I want to mirror. But I'm going to do MI, enter. Then it says specify first point of mirror line. I'm going to use the midpoint of the box. Second point of mirror line is the top midpoint. Erase source objects, no. Enter.
Okay, I thought you were doing midpoint on the side of the box.
Nope. All right. So there are two, if you just do text, T enter, T is actually for what's called M text. T is the shortcut for M text, and M text is multi-line text. That's like if you want to write a paragraph, which in some cases you'll want to do that. But what you're really going to want to do is the single line text, which is just type the word text. And it's going to say, okay, specify the start point of the text. And I'm going to specify the midpoint here of my interior line. Actually, let me switch to a different layer. So this will be big text. So text, midpoint will be there. Specify the height. Well, I know that this area is 2 units tall, but I don't want the text to be 2 units tall because then it'll be touching the lines. So what I really want is it to be like 1.5 or 1.75. So let me try 1.5 and see what that looks like. And then, so I did that, enter, and this is specify rotation angle of the text. Defaults to 0, which is what we want, so hit 0. Okay, now we can start typing. So this is, we do all caps when we're drafting, and you do equipment type. Enter, enter. Looks something like this. Okay. So there's a couple of things that we need to do here. Is obviously we need it inside that box, but there's a very specific way that we're going to do that. Before we start messing with it, we need to learn about text styles. Okay. So yes.
Were you just doing text or text align? Because I still have the box after I did the enter.
You probably did the M text instead of the text. So actually type the word text, enter, instead of T, enter.
Like put in the whole word
Yep,
text?
T-E-X-T, enter.
Okay. And then midpoint.
Yep.
Are the right one. And then what was the rotation angle?
0. Does that work? Okay. Everybody else got it? Sam, you got it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we need to talk about text styles. So you're going to go to the Format menu and select Text Style. Here are all your text styles. So text styles is more than just fonts, although it is fonts, that is part of it. But it's also, text styles are where you define default properties for different kinds of text that you're going to use in AutoCAD. Again, this is designed to save you time. Because if I say, oh, hey, all of your big labels need to be a different font, or they need to be a different height, or they need to, you can mess with that in the text style rather than going and editing every single one of them. Okay? Now, you will always have 2 text styles by default, annotative and standard. And you should use neither of them. Okay? For the same reasons that you shouldn't draw on layer 0. Okay? Because everybody has standard, and not everyone's standard settings will be the same. And so if you have text that's written on standard layer, and you've styled it your way, when you put your file into someone else's file, it's going to use their styling for standard. And that may not work for you. So you're going to want to make your own styles. So you click this little button here to make one. And I'm going to call this Audio Big Text JR. Now you have some options here. There are two types of fonts that AutoCAD works with. One is the sort of true type fonts that are all found all over in your computer and all kinds of other programs. But then it also has these SHX fonts. And these are fonts that are designed for pen plotters. So back in the olden times, before we had like these kind of plotters, the way that you would print a drawing in AutoCAD onto a big piece of paper is you would use a thing called a plotter. And it was about the size of that thing over there. But instead of having print heads like that go like a printer does, it literally was a robotic arm that held a pen. Okay? And so the robotic arm could move side to side, and then the roller could move the paper up and down.
Oh.
So you would send it to this plotter, and then you would literally watch a robotic hand holding this pen, and it would move move the paper underneath as it moved, and it would draw this for you.
It's like that thing from
Yeah. from Hugo, the automaton. Y'all ever read Hugo?
Yeah. And that was always mesmerizing to watch. I always loved watching pen plotters draw.
Do they still exist, or is it like an ancient?
They still exist, but they've fallen way out of favor because they're kind of slow.
Fax machines.
How long does it take? I mean, obviously depending on your stuff, but.
It would do it pretty fast, but not as fast as like, inkjet or something laser type thing could do. But it would just, and it would draw it. It was very cool. But here's the thing. If you're doing this literally with a pen, it's not going to be able to create a font like this with a pen. Okay? Because the pen is very thin line, and if it has to do thick lines, it's got to like color inside, and it doesn't work. And so there were specific fonts created for those pen plotters, and that's what the SHX fonts are. Those come with AutoCAD. There is a very significant advantage to using the pen plotter fonts, and that is they scale really well, okay, because they are made out of thin lines. And so sometimes what happens is when you take a font like this one, which is looks like it's Arial, the Arial regular font, that's fine, but there's limits to how much that can scale down. Okay, because in order for it to look like the Arial font, it has to have a certain amount of thickness on all the letters. And you get small enough, and it just is going to, eventually it will stop scaling the thickness, right? And then you get so small that it starts bleeding into each other and you can't see it anymore. Well, that doesn't ever happen with the pen fonts, okay? Because there's not thickness to them. They scale down pretty well. So you don't have to use the pen fonts, but I want you to understand why I will use them, okay? Is I like that. And I like not having to worry about my fonts not scaling well, okay? But if you are a font person and you like to play around with that, knock yourself out. But
Would you rip me apart if for a look, like an official look,
yeah,
I used like something stupid like Comic Sans?
I would.
Like it scaled well or something?
I would argue that it probably doesn't look super professional.
What about Avenir? I love Avenir. That's my
Okay.
favorite.
So there's a couple of other principles of fonts that you need to understand. Anybody ever taken like a graphic design class where they've learned about typesetting and that kind of stuff? Anybody a little bit of that? Okay, so there's this concept of serifs and sans serif fonts. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So serifs are like, let's see, let me find a serif font.
You know, picture a font. You know,
Let's see.
guys, I think we should all just draft all of our stuff in winged things.
I know, there's one down here I can use.
So, I will make the argument for having it.
There's one. Okay, so the serifs are all the little pointy things that stick off of the ends of the letters, okay? Those are called serifs. It's a serifed font. Serifs look cool, but they also do not scale very well. They work best. They work okay for big text. They really don't work well for small text.
They've also been proven to be significantly more difficult to read with people with like dyslexia,
Yeah.
dysgraphia, or anything like that.
Yeah,
We're told not to use them too much on like round paperwork.
Yeah.
It's hard for people to read.
yeah. So the kinds of drawings that you're going to do are going to involve a lot of really tiny labels of things. And I would really strongly advise you to stay away from serifed fonts because of that, because it's just, they don't scale well, and yes, there are people that find reading those very difficult. So you want to in your drafting that you do, look for sans serif fonts that don't have the serifs on them, like the one that I had up earlier, which was this. Okay, that has no serifs. So that's going to scale a lot better. It'll be easy to read when it's small and easy to read when it's big. Okay, but there is a limit to how small it can get and still be legible, because the thickness just comes into play. Let me show you the ones that I like. So there's this one called Romans, ROMANSSHX, which is a pen font. It's a sans serif font that is designed for a pen plotter. That's why it doesn't have those thicknesses. And so this will be just as easy to read when it's small as it is when it's big. There's no scaling concerns with this thing. Okay, when it gets small, it doesn't bleed together. I really like this one.
It's close to Avenir, so I
Yeah.
support it.
You don't have to use it. It's not a big whoop if you don't. But if you decide to go with something like this Arial font or something, that's totally fine. But you're going to have to pay attention to when you start scaling things down to fit on a piece of paper and you plot it. Those might not be legible. Okay, so it's just something you got to look for and be careful. But I would rather not have to worry about that. So I stick with this. But there's lots of other ones. So you should look at those pen fonts, because like here's a serifed pen font, and you can see what it's doing is it's actually drawing double lines. Here's another double line sans serif font.
How do you feel about the double lines?
Well, these days I don't really like them, because if you want the serif font, just do a regular serif font, because it's going to have the readability and scaling problems anyway. Here's like a cursive pen font that the plotter could do. There's another one. This is a single line one. This is a double line version. But anyway, I like this one. This Romans, I like that one a lot. Okay, so by selecting that there, I'm basically saying everything that goes on the Audio Big Text JR text style will use this font. Okay, and the default text height is going to be 1.5. Angle 0, width factor of 1. You can actually even apply styles of like, this should be a vertical text or an upside down text or whatever. You can apply that to the text style. But the important ones are the font, the text height, and the angle. So I'll do that one. And then we'll come back and we might look at another one in a minute here. So we'll close this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this text I made, and I'm going to change it to a different text style. So if you go down here into the properties, it says style standard. You see where that is? You pop that up and a menu opens up, and you want to switch it to the style you made. So mine is Audio Big Text JR.
Wait, can you repeat that?
So yeah, you're going to select the text you did, and then over here in Properties, where it says Style, you can click that drop-down menu and select your text style that you made. Yeah?
It worked.
Amazing. Okay. You guys okay over there?
Yeah.
You got it? Everybody got it? Okay. So now how do we get it to not go outside the line? Move would work, but there's a very significant trap involved in using move here, which is that this label is not always going to say equipment type.
Oh, wait.
Sometimes it'll say mixing console. Sometimes it'll say digital signal processor. Sometimes it'll say reverb. Sometimes, it'll say computer. So, so you never know how big this is going to be.
Gotcha.
Okay? Yes, Brooke?
I was gonna say, so you wanna like center it, like, like when you're writing paper, it gives you options, like have your text be on the side or.
Yeah.
Stuff.
So a better way is I inserted this text on the midpoint of that line. And if I go over here to the justify thing, here are all of my options, okay? So what if I say, middle center? Okay, now that's where my insertion point is, okay? Now what I would like to do is I would like that midpoint to be exactly in the middle between these two lines. Okay, so I'm going to draw myself a little reference line between those two midpoints. And then I'm going to select this label and I'm going to do move. And when I click that insertion point, and then I'm going to click the midpoint of that line that I made.
How were you able to draw that line?
I just did L enter and then midpoint to midpoint.
Oh. Okay.
And now it is perfectly centered in there. And now I can erase my reference line.
So you made the line and then you.
Yep, so watch. Here it is, it's sitting here now. So I'm going to do L enter, midpoint click, enter. Now I've got the line. So then I do M enter for move, I select the text, enter. I start here at the origin, which is or the insertion point, click, and then I click at the midpoint. And now it's perfectly centered. Then I can erase that reference line. Now I'm looking at this now, and I think it's maybe a little too tight to the lines. So I kind of want it to be a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go to the text height, and I'm going to try 1.25 instead. Oops. 1.25. That's better.
Did you select the text and then?
Yep.
change the-
And then I'm going to go to the text style, and I'm going to change it there too. So that the text height gets applied when you first instantiate a piece of text, but then you can change it independently if you want to. So it'll be 1.25 instead of 0.5. There you go. I like that.
Jason, how did you change the text height on the format?
So you select it, and then with it selected, you go down here to Properties, and it should say Height.
Yeah, no, but in the format though.
And the text height, yeah.
Yeah.
I changed it to 1.25 and then hit apply.
Oh yeah, in the text style you mean?
So not 0, okay, so.
Yeah, so text height, 1.25, hit apply.
Great.
All right. So now what I'm going to do is I now need this label up above, right? So I'll go ahead and just use this one I've already done. I'll say copy. And you want to snap to that midpoint of the text. That's the insertion point. And this time you want to snap to the midpoint of the top line of the box. And you're going to say, Jason, surely that's not right. Well, it will be, because I'm going to change the justification.
How do you select the midpoint of the text?
You should have that turned on in your object snap. So it'll be the insertion point.
Yeah.
So is insertion point turned on your object snap? See?
Yes? Yeah, it is.
Okay. So then you're going to select this.
Huh.
You're going to hit M, enter, and then you're going to hover over here, and you see how it gives you that little insertion point snap?
It's a weird, like,
Yeah.
not quite square.
Yeah, it's like a two square thing,
Okay,
right?
cool.
You click there,
Wanted to make sure.
and then you click at the midpoint of that line.
I thought we were copying.
You're right. We are copying, not moving.
Cool.
Okay, so now I'll select that new text that's up there, and yes, I know it's overlapping the line because it's mid-center justified. We're going to change that. So now what we want to do is instead of middle center justification, we want to do bottom center justified.
Whoa.
Okay, and now it lines up with the line. Now I don't want it touching the line, you know, so I'm going to go ahead and move it now, and I'll just go from here and take it up 0.5.
Why couldn't you just copy it and move it there to begin with?
Because of the insertion point. I hadn't changed the insertion point yet, and so so I wouldn't know. It would be harder to track it because I'm tracking it off the insertion point, and I really want it to be half a unit above the line, and I don't know how I track half a unit above the line when I started down here. So I just go from here and I put it on the line, and then once I know it's aligned in the right place, then I move it half a unit away from that.
So once it's aligned on top of the line, you just
Yeah.
move.
Yep. So, and looking at it, I think I might want to actually go a little bit farther. So I'm going to say move, and I'll do 1 full unit. I like that better.
Can I just do move 1 equals and
Well, you have to track it. You have to say the origin. So I'm going to start at that corner line, and then object snap track up and hit 1 enter.
right? Okay.
And then I change this to say make/model. Okay? Yeah, well, because this slash is going to go below. That's why I ended up moving it higher.
Did you do like 0.5 after the 0.5, or did you do more?
Yeah, I moved it back down and did 1.
Okay, so I need to move down.
Just undo, you know. Just undo, put it back down on the line, and then move it up again. Or you can just move 0.5, whatever you want to do. Doesn't matter. But the nice thing about this is now I could either of these I could change what they say. So watch where it says equipment type. If I go in and edit that text, I can say mixing console, and it's always going to stay mid-center aligned inside that box, right? Doesn't matter what it says. BSP, it's always going to fit. Unless I somehow need a much bigger label than the thing, then like I say, Jason's special sound equipment. See, now it'll go outside, right? So it won't do that, but as long as you can make the label fit, it'll stay center justified. So,
What happens if it's too big?
well, you need to figure out a way to either abbreviate it, or you can do this thing called fit, which will squish it. Which I don't really like that.
It actually squishes the text, or
Yeah.
does it wrap it?
Squishes it.
So that's.
Use sparingly. That only really works on really big labels, right?
Is that like well, I don't know if it's the same, but like on the title box or whatever, is that
What
how
was
you're-
the clicking?
Yep. So we're going to go over that I think next week, or maybe the week after. All right. Is everybody this far?
Yeah.
All right.
No, I think.
All right. So I want to make a new text style now because I need to do that small text that goes inside the box, right? So let's make a new text style now, and I'll call this one audio small text JR. I'm going to use that same Romans font that I like. This time the default text height is going to be probably like 0.75. Let's see what that looks like.
What did you call it? Audio? Small?
Yeah, you can call it whatever you want, but I called mine audio text, small text JR. It's just something that will make sense to you. And apply that. All right, so now I can go ahead and make some text. So I do the text again. And don't worry about clicking any place particular here. Just do it out here for now. That's where it's going to go. Rotation angle is 0. And there it goes. And this will say input. Enter. Enter.
Should you change layers too?
Yep, that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to show you how to move something to a different layer after you've already drawn it. So, so right now, yes, I'm typing that, and it's coming out yellow. And I'm like, oh, shoot, I really want that on my other layer. Well, here's how you change it. You select it, and then up here in the layer menu, it shows you what layer that thing's currently on. You just go select from the menu and say, actually put it there on the other layer. And now it's there. Okay? Now, yes?
So, I guess just for clarification, when you do something in the wrong layer and then you change it to the layer that you want it to be in, it's not gonna automatically change. It's not gonna like set you into that layer, because it still shows
Right.
that we're in.
Yeah, I'm still drawing on the big text layer here. So,
Just that one has been.
yeah, that has moved. But now if I want to not have to do that again, now I can just switch and make that small text the active layer so that now I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so here's what I want. I want to put this up in this top left corner here. But I want it to stay in that spot, and if I ever have to change what that says, I want it to grow out this way. I don't want it to grow out of the line. So if I click this, I need to do a different justification for this one. So this one's going to be justifying top left. Okay, so now I get the insertion point up there. And if I just move this using that insertion point and click on that little corner, this is what I get. Not great. Okay, I really want some spacing there.
So where's the justify thing again?
So you select the text,
Yes.
and then it's over here in the Properties menu, the Properties panel, where it says Justify. There's a little menu that drops down there. Justify. You have to have the text selected.
Oh.
Select the text, and then it'll activate that property.
Okay.
All right.
Wait, because I thought you said that. Never mind. So don't click like M for move, just click on the text and then justify.
Well, I did two things at once there. I justified it first, and then I moved it. So let me show you what I did. So there it is. Everybody, eyes up. Look what I'm doing. Don't look at your screen. Okay? I've changed the justification. So now the insertion point is there, the top left. And so if I hit move, M, enter, I'm going to snap to that top left insertion point. And then I snap there, click. And now it has tied it to that corner. But it's really tight to that corner. I don't like that. Okay? So is everybody there? Have you got that much done? Okay. So let's move this out of the way for a minute, because I need to create a couple of reference lines for myself. So I'm going to teach you about construction lines. Construction lines are lines that you draw that aren't ever you're not going to keep these. They're not going to really be in the drawing, but it helps you to line things up and draw things the right way. So the command is called xline. So xline, enter. And what I want is I want this text to be half a unit in both directions away from this corner. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by snapping to this thing, and I'm going to track this way and do 0.5. And then I'm going to drag my mouse to the vertical so it snaps to a perfectly vertical line. See that? And then I'm going to click. Now that line, if I now hit enter, that line goes on forever. Okay? It has no end. Now I'm going to do another one, X line, and this time I'm going to start from the same place, but I'm going to track down 0.5. And this time we'll do horizontal. Enter. So what have I done here? Well, I've created a little intersection point at the spot where I want the origin for the text to be. And I know that it's exactly half a unit on both axes away from that corner. So now I can take my text, move it, start from that insertion point, and then click on my new intersection, and now it's lined up there. See that? That's how you do it. And now you can get rid of those construction lines.
It's so satisfying. I feel like every week you just teach me ways that the last time it could have been easier.
Yep.
Makes me happy.
All right. So now I need to put the text on the other side for output. So what do you think I'm going to do?
Mirror.
I'm going to mirror it, yeah. So I'll select this and do MI. Yes. Midpoint of what?
That's what I'm confused.
Okay, so
I have it.
move, snap, yeah, snap to that top thing, and then zoom in, scroll in so you can see what you're doing. Okay, you must not have intersection turned on. So hit escape and go right click on your object snaps. Yep. And do apparent intersection. And now try it.
Is it just setting?
There you go.
And then I
Yep.
I don't know.
Okay, anybody else need help? Are y'all with me?
Yes.
Okay. So I'll select this, I'll do MI enter, and then I will use the midpoints as the mirror line, and it puts it over there. And it says input again, but it's nice, it mirrored the position, but it didn't mirror the text, right? It's smart that way. It knows we probably don't want to read backwards just because we flipped it to the other side. So now I will double click on this and call it output. Enter. But oh no, it went outside of the line. What in the world am I going to do? Change the justification. So I'm going to select it, and under justify, now I'm going to do top right. And it flips all the way around like that. Why? Because the insertion point was actually right there. So now what I got to do is I'm going to have to get my construction lines back again so I can get it exactly back where I want it. So I'm going to do X line. There's a few other ways to do this, but this is how we'll do it. So I'll do another 0.5 X line there. And another 0.5 X line there. And now I'll move and tag it right there. And I can get rid of those. Okay? See how that works?
When you did the first X line, did you snap to the?
Yeah, it snap tracked off of that corner and went 0.5 that way, and then the next one was 0.5 down from that. Okay, everybody there? All right, so now what I want to do is I need to make my number labels that go inside there. So I'm going to copy this input one and take the insertion point, and I'm going to snap track off of the edge of that line and then track over to keep it vertical, and it'll be right there. But here's the thing. That's not exactly how I want it. I want the text to be centered vertically on the connection line that it's supposed to go with. So what am I going to do? I'm going to change the justification. So I'm going to select it, and I'm going to justify this, and this is going to be middle left. And see how it jumps it up there, and now that text is centered on that line. And I'm going to change that to just say 1. And now I'm looking at it and going, I don't like how close that is to the input label. So no problem. I'm just going to go ahead and select those 2 lines, and that label. See what I'm doing? And then I'm just going to move them down. Let's try 1 unit and see what happens. I like that. That looks great. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, and now I'm going to copy that same label. I'll click it, and I'll go from the base point of the end of the line here to there. And then I know it's centered. I can make that a 2.
Wait 1 second before you move on.
Yep.
What did you justify it to?
Middle left. That way, if I have to put something else here, like maybe it doesn't say 1, maybe it says Maddie, it'll keep growing out the right direction. Okay. No, it's, you know. You could say Dante primary, and it'll go the right direction, right? Maddie is a kind of audio protocol.
Who's Dante?
Okay? Everybody there so far?
Yes.
Okay.
What are the purple lines supposed to be? Because I thought mine were in the right spot, but now it does not look like they are.
Well, just move them to where you think they ought to be.
Okay. But like,
Make sure you move the label with it.
the one.
You've just done all that work to line up that label with those lines. Make sure you do the ones on the other side too, because they're going to be the same treatment. There you go. Yeah, do yourself a favor and scroll out a little bit. There you go. Okay. And then just move them down a little bit, however much you want. Let's see if that looks better.
That's two. Is this one supposed to be like up in the?
Huh?
Is this line supposed to be at the midpoint?
It doesn't have to be, but if you like how that looks, that's fine. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I need to put these labels on the other side. So I'm going to select them and mirror them. But now I need to change the justification of these, don't I? So this is going to be middle right, which of course flips them just ever so slightly. And so now I need to take them and move them. So watch what I'm going to do. Eyes up.
Why do you have to change the justification?
So when I type and change those labels, they'll grow the other way. Because watch. If this says 1 here, because it's left justified, and I start typing Maddie, for example, that's what happens. Okay? So what I want to do is I want to make them middle right justified. And now I'll just select them, and I'm going to move. Watch. Eyes up here. Eyes up here, everyone. I say, with them selected, I'm say M, enter. I'm going to select the insertion point, and then I'm going to snap track off of that insertion point. And now it's spaced the same. See that? And this one looks like it might be a little off.
Yeah, mine is 2.
So no worries, I'll fix it. So same thing, let's go off the insertion point, go off that one, and that should put it in the right place now. So now when I look at these, I can type something like Maddie, for example, and it grows out to the end, or it grows in. And if you want to, like, I'm feeling a little persnickety about this, so I just want to check and make sure I've really done this. So I'm going to make a note, put my construction line back here and make it vertical. Let me just check that all of those insertion lines are lining up, and they are. Okay.
I like that.
Okay, there you go. There's your first symbol. Now you never have to draw that again. Ever again in your life.
That's so cool.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take this and move it out of the way. Just take it up here somewhere. Like, go out of the way, and now I can draw a new one at 0 and go again. So let's see. Something that I can show you. Yes.
Actually still isn't lining up. Where, and I thought I did it at the insertion point.
Let me see. Okay, so snap track off of that insertion point up there. Yep. Now drop down. No, you moved it. You moved it. Stay there. No, nope. Don't take it back. There you go. That's it. Okay.
For making the equilateral triangle, can we use the triangle tool now?
You can.
Yes.
So, so you want to do the amp next? Let's do an amp. So, all right, same deal. I'm going to go and start with the box. And the box is going to be probably 15 tall, looks like, because this was 10, so that's probably going to be about 15. And if this was 25, how wide would that be? Maybe I'll try it. Let's see what it looks like. So I'll do a rectangle, 0, 0, and I'll do, Brooks has 7, so 7, comma, what did I say? 15? Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, so now I'll go to my equipment inside, and I'll do this line 2 units down from the top. Go there. Now I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to go get these 2 pieces of text, and I'm going to copy them. And watch the base. Watch what I do. Now I've got them. I'm going to hit the midpoint of this bottom line. It's inside the box. Click, and I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to click that. And you're saying, Jason, is too big. Well,
Can you slow down?
there. Yes, watch. Watch. Don't do it at the same time I'm doing it. Watch me do it first, and then you try to do it. If you do it at the same time as me, you'll miss it. Okay? So I'm going to select the text, copy, enter. Snap to the midpoint of that line. And then I'm going to go down here and snap to that midpoint, and then hit enter. And then it's done. And then you double click on this, and type amp. And you can even do the number if you want.
Is the make and model thing the same?
Yep, looks like it. I'm feeling like I want this to be a little bit bigger, this rectangle.
I support you in this decision.
I'm going to get this out of the way for a sec. And I'm going to draw this again. So that was 7 by 15.
Yes.
I'm going to do 10 by 15. Rectangle 0, 0, 10, 15. That looks a little wide now. And I put it on the wrong layer. All right, we'll do that. Let's see if this looks any better.
Did you create a whole number?
What's that?
Did you create a whole number?
Yeah. I'll try this again. CO from midpoint down to there. And if I do amp number in here, yeah, see it's wider a little bit now. It's probably
Maybe like an 8.
maybe an 8.
I think I used 8.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah, but it's too big.
Yeah, 10, 15.
So I'm gonna show you a trick. Click this, snap to this little spot here, and then 2. Now let's see if that fits. Let me trim that. OT. And then move this tracking off of that midpoint. I like that better. That looks good. For what?
The width?
8 looks like, yeah.
And then what's the?
I like that better. 15. All right. So yeah, now I need to do a polygon for the triangle.
Wait, can you hold on for just a second?
Yes.
Yep.
Does it matter that the number symbol is touching the inside line?
Matters a little bit, but in real life, it's not going to be a number symbol. It's going to be a number.
Okay.
So if I switch it to 1, then it's fine. But if that bothers you, you can make your text smaller. This is going to be your template. You make it how you want it. How are we doing? Are we there?
Almost. I think so.
All right, so let's make a triangle then. So I'm going to type polygon, enter. Enter number of sides, 3. Specify center of polygon or edge. I'm going to do E for edge. E, enter. Specify first endpoint, so I'm just going to click anywhere I want. And then how tall do I want these to be? How big do I want this? I'm going to say 4 units, maybe?
What was the first name you said?
Polygon. So now I need to flip this around. You could do it with mirror, but you can also do it with a thing called rotate. So everybody got this so far? Got the triangle pointing the wrong direction? What's that?
Mine's pointing in the wrong direction.
Okay, good. So I'm going to show you how to turn it around. So it's RO, enter for rotate. Select it, enter. Specify base point, which should be this bottom corner, and just until it's. And you're thinking, well, now I can't get it to be all right. Well, watch this. Your options are copy or reference. Do R for reference. And the reference is here to there. And now.
Mine just automatically kind of snapped.
Cool.
Are there any, like, possible situations where you have to use that instead of mirror?
Well, how do you?
You could do mirror, but the either way would work.
Just, wondering.
All right, now I need another one, so I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to snap top corner to bottom corner. Now I got two.
You made it 4?
I think so. I haven't put that inside the box yet, so I don't know how it's going to look, but looks about right. Mike could get away with 3. I don't know.
What was the radius that you used?
I did them as 4 units on the side, on each side, so 4 units tall.
So when it says specify radius of the circle, I just hit 4.
Well, did you do edge?
9.
So watch. Polygon. Enter number of sides, 3. Specify center or edge in bracket. You see that down there where it says edge at the bottom?
Yeah.
So I do E, enter. Specify the first endpoint of the edge, 1. Then you can go up and do 4. And there it is. And then yes, you could do mirror if you want. And just mirror it around.
The other one has a lot of.
But now you want to do yes when it asks you to erase. Okay, that's another way to do it. Okay, how we doing? All right, so now let's try to move these in here and see what happens. So I'm going to make myself a couple of reference lines here. Okay, so I'm going to first do a line from here, the bottom of this label line, to the bottom corner. Why? Because I need a midpoint. And now I'm going to do an X line from that bottom midpoint, which is the midpoint of, should be, nope, it's not, it's the midpoint of the thing. So X line, it'll be that top midpoint. I just want to divide this lower section into 2 chunks. Does that look like right? Doesn't look right, does it? X line.
Did you do an X line for both of them?
No, just a regular line for them. I guess that's right. Let me just check.
I think it's the bottom.
13, 13. They're both 13. Yeah, it's the bottom one. Okay, so now I can get rid of that line I made. And then I kind of need to figure out if this box is, what did we do, 8 units wide? Well, and my triangles are 4 units, then that means I need a 2-unit gap on either side to make it centered, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to do another little X line. I'm going to track it 2 units from the corner. And now I know where I'm going to put that thing. So now I'm going to say move, select these 2 things. My insertion point is going to be that, the middle point between the triangles, and I stick it right there. And then I can erase those construction lines. And then I can look and see, is that what I want? Oh, it looks like I would really like to have them separated, right? So no worries, I'll take one of them and I will move it. M, enter, and I'll click here and do 1 unit down, and do this one, move, enter, click and do 1 unit up, and now they're separated. But they are still together, straddling that midpoint. And then I can switch over to my connection layer, and I can draw the lines from here to there. I'll do 6. Same thing here. By the way, spacebar is do that again. So once you're out of a command, if you hit spacebar again, it's automatically going to do the last command, which was line. There you go.
construction lines again?
Yeah. So what I was hunting for was the midpoint between this line here and this line there. That's what I was trying to find. So what I did is I drew a line from there to there.
Right.
And that gives me a midpoint that I can snap to.
Okay.
Okay? So now I did an X line from that new midpoint horizontally.
Okay.
And then I did another one from that midpoint 2 units in, but vertical.
Okay.
And that gave me a snap point for where those two triangles were touching.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Jason, I followed everything except I can't get my triangle when it rotates to be even, and I know you said there was a way to do it, and I thought it.
Yeah, okay, let me show you. So we'll do the polygon again. Sides are 3, enter. And now I want to do E for edge, enter. Specify the first point, doesn't matter, click literally anywhere.
Right.
And then just drag up, straight vertical, and type 4. And now it should be that, pointed the other way, right?
Yes.
So your options are rotate or mirror. Doesn't really matter which one you do. So I'll do mirror, MI, enter. And then the mirror line, you select the thing, enter, and then the mirror line is just the side of the triangle. So click, click, flips it around, and then it says erase source objects, yes, enter. Or you can do the rotate command to do the reference line and flip it around.
Do you want the triangles down by 1 from the midpoint?
Yeah, I moved the bottom one down 1 from the midpoint and the top one up 1 from the midpoint. Okay? There you go. All right, so let me look and see if there's anything else you're going to need to know how to do here. Oh, let's do the dots. Yes.
I was gonna ask about the big triangle, the little triangles, and then if we would make the use the polygon tool to make the big triangles and then put the little ones inside, or make the little ones to make a big one to go outside.
I would just do it. I would do the 2 small ones and then make the big one to go around it. That's what I would do. Okay, let me show you how to do the dot. Are you ready? So you're going to do a circle, and we'll click there at that intersection. So don't do it with me. Watch me do it first. Watch me do it, and then you do it. Okay? So your eyes are up here. So I click here at this center point, and I decide how big I want it to be. Probably doesn't need to be too big. Let's try 0.25. That looks good. Now, I need it to be solid, though, don't I? You do this with a command called hatch. And it opens this up, and you have some options here. And you want to do solids, and you'll just use the layer color, and then it says select boundary. So click select boundary, and click on that circle, and then enter. And I want to point out that it has actually made 2 objects here. One is the hatch, and the other is the circle. So you can decide if you want to keep both or not, but I would say get rid of the circle and just use that little hatch. But you're going to have to get midpoint, centers. Oh, will it not snap to center? If I do a move, oh, look at that, it's not snapping to center. Well, that's a reason to keep the circle. Then you have something to snap to. All right, so there's the dot. Now, what about this thing, this little NO4 thing? So that is created using what's called a dimension tool. So, yes?
Before you show us that, can we try making this circle?
Yes. Yes, thank you. Make the circle.
How do we get to hatch again?
Type hatch. Enter. So I'll do another one. Hatch. Or actually, I gotta do the circle first, don't I? Circle here, 0.25. Hatch. Solid. Select boundary. That. Enter. Everybody got dots?
I'm still having trouble with the cross lines. Like every time I do it, it's off center. So the midpoint, and I go over 2. And then.
So you probably used the wrong midpoint. It's probably lower. Did you do an X line? No. Oh, you did an X line there. No, you're supposed to do a regular line. Undo.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So draw just a regular line from that point to that point.
Okay. Okay, cool.
There you go. Now do the X line. From the lower of the two midpoints. There you go.
Gotcha, okay.
Now you do that. Now you can delete that reference line. Okay, now you can do your other one. There you go. Now.
Gotcha.
Bada bing.
Okay, cool, thank you.
All right. Are you ready for the dimension tool? You are? Okay. Everybody ready for the dimension tool? All right. So I'm going to put this on my small text layer. And if you go to the Format menu, there's another thing called Dimension Style. Let's open that up. Now, just like text styles, there is an annotative and there's a standard, and you should use neither. Okay? So you're going to make your own. And this is going to be audio small dim JR. And it's going to start with whatever the standard is currently using. So it's just going to inherit the standard settings, but it's now I'm going to do my own. Use for all dimensions, sure. Then you hit continue. And then it pulls this up. So what you're going to want to do here is the main thing you want to do is go over here to text and set the text height. Do you remember what the text height was for my small labels?
0.75.
I think it was 0.75. Yeah. So 0.75 will be the height of that. And then, oops, I wasn't quite done there. So click that thing, say modify. And let me make sure that it's doing, go to the arrows. I want to make the arrows a little bit bigger. Maybe take those to 0.3 maybe. Let's try that. So we'll click OK. And close. And now I'm going to do DIM. Enter. And we'll go from this point to this point, and then I'll drag out. And that was what it's currently telling me is how far apart those are, 6 units. But I don't want it to do that. I want it to give some text instead. So I'm just going to say NL4. I got to remove the, hang on. Got to remove the actual value here. Get what?
Get like, never mind. What are you doing right now?
I'm trying to get the number to go away. I think I need to go back to the dimension style to do that. Let's see, modify. Primary units. Lines. Why have I forgotten how to do this? Linear dimensions. No, it must not be in there. I'll find it. Oh, text override. So over here in properties, with that dimension selected, there's this thing that says text override, and I'm gonna type NL4. And it'll do that instead of the thing. Now you can look at that, and if you want to tweak that a little bit, you can. So now that I've seen it, I can go to the dimension style, and maybe I want a little bit more spacing there on with the lines. So the dimension break can be a little bit bigger, maybe a 3. Let's see if that does anything.
Do you change the break size to 3?
I tried. It didn't do what I wanted it to do, though. Try it again.
Oh, because it's 0.3. Maybe I want.
Yeah, that's what I did. It's 0.3. Dim line. I take that to 0.1. I don't think that does anything. I'd have to play with that for a little bit. That may not be. I don't know. You can play with that and see. I don't want to waste time on it right now. Yep. So over, if you look at the example, you're going to need to do that NL4 on the loudspeaker, right? I'm doing it on the amp right now, but you'll do it on the loudspeaker. Okay, everything else you should know how to do now. So what you're going to do is once you get all these symbols drawn the way you like them, and laid out the way you want them and all that, you are going to save this as, do a file, save as, and where it says file format, you want to select AutoCAD drawing template.dwt.
When you're done.
Yeah. But you can change it. I mean, you can save over, right? So so this is not like a one shot and you're
I
done.
didn't know you could change it back.
Yeah, you can change it. So you do DWT, and you need to decide where you're going to put this, where you're going to save this. Okay. You put it wherever you want, but put it in a folder where you will always find it, because you're going to use this a lot. Okay. So for demonstration purposes, I will put it on desktop, and I will call this Jason's CAD template. Enter. Enter the template measurement, English or metric. English is fine. Enter a template description. Jason's audio blocks. Enter. Okay, so now it's saved as a DWT. So now you can close it. And if I go here to where I saved it, there it is. It's a DWT. If I open it, double click on it, open it, look what it did. It just made a blank drawing called Drawing to It. I'm not editing the template. It's made a copy of it automatically for me with all this stuff already there. And now I can copy and make my own big drawing, right? If I want to go and change the template itself, I'll close this and I will say open, go File, Open, and I will go find the actual template file. I will select Drawing Template as my file format that I want to open. That way it'll open it as a template. And now I'm actually editing the DWT file. So now I can add more symbols, I can make changes to it, resave the DWT, and then I'm fine. But whenever you make a new drawing, I'll just go and find my little template, and I will double-click on it, and as long as it's not open, which it is right now, it will instantiate a new blank drawing for me with all that stuff in there. And now I can just do the same thing you did last week, which is copy, paste, all that kind of stuff. Okay? Make sense? So, what is your task? Your task is to draw all these things. At least all these things. If you want to draw more than that, you can. If there's other things you want to make sure you have in your template right now, you can do it, or you can do that later, because you can always add things to it later. But at least these things. And then save it as a template file, a .dwt, and then use that template file to create a new blank drawing and draw this using that template, okay? And what you will turn in is both files. So I want you to give me your DWT file, and I want you to give me the DWG file that has the drawing in it. Okay? So I want you to upload both those files.
The DWT is the template.
Yep. And then the DWG will be the drawing. Okay? So I've shown you all the commands you should need to know to do this. Any questions? Yes.
How do we do the on the like?
So let's make sure we know what we're talking about here. That thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it an oval?
It's called an ellipse. So it's EL for ellipse. And it says specify axis, endpoint ellipse, or arc center. I'll do center. And I will click here. And endpoint of axis is like how wide you want it. And then you can kind of stretch it however big you want. And once you've got it, then you can tweak it once you have it. You can grab this and so make it whatever size you
What
want.
did you make your endpoint? Listen.
I just snapped it at the end of that wire or something, just something.
Oh.
Once you have it, you can move it wherever you want. You can stick it. That's how you do that. Ellipse. Other questions? Anything else you see in the drawing that you want to make sure that you want to know how to do?
For the dimension, like label for the text,
Yeah.
it's in not the like font.
Yeah.
Format.
So if you go to the dimension style and edit and modify that, you can go to text and you can say what text style do you want to use. Well, I want to use my audio small text.
Gotcha.
And then it'll change. That way, if you've already drawn 20 million of them, you can just change the style and all of them will change. You don't have to go find them all. Okay? Other questions? All right, the rubber's hitting the road now. Now we're doing real stuff. You should take time and do this right, especially the template part of it, because if you do it right now, guess what? You never have to draw any of those things ever again if you do it right the first time. And you can use them for the rest of your life. So take the time to do it right so that you're happy with it and you're not going to like feel bad about yourself every time you make a copy of that stupid block that you made when you were a freshman in college. It'll haunt you for the next 20 years of your life. So just draw it good this time, and then you never have to do it ever again.
Are we just drawing these out like lines?
Yeah, see if you can figure out how to do that. Once you do that, add it to your template so you never have to draw it again. So you got, like 30 minutes to kick this around a little bit. So try some things. If you get stuck, I'll help you.